Hello students, so in part 2 of benign and malignant tumors of salivary glands, we are going to go in detail about the few benign as well as the malignant tumors which are seen in the salivary glands. Okay, so part 1, if you have not seen, see that lecture and then come back to this lecture, okay, because it's a continuation of the part 1. In part 1, we learned about the oral histology, the proper histology of salivary glands. Now in part 2, we are going in detail about the diseases. So coming on to the presentation, this is a small summary, okay. In this particular slide, I have given a small summary about the histology of salivary glands and which are the cells which are acting as progenitor or the culprits for these tumors, okay. So now look at the picture, concentrate on the picture. In that picture, first section is divided, okay. So that is the basic histology, the serous cells and the mucous cells, okay, the acini, okay, the cells which are producing the saliva. And then on to the adjacent to it, you can see a basket cell, that is the myoepithelial cell. That blue color cell is the myoepithelial cell. So with the help of myoepithelial cell, as I told you in part 1, they are the cells which contain actin and myosin filaments. So they contract, and because of the contraction, the saliva produced in this acini, okay, serous and mucous acini, will get released into the duct. So duct is again divided into different portion, okay. The first portion being the intercalated duct, the second portion being the striated region, and last one being the excretory duct origin, okay. So excretory duct region, okay, sorry. So this is how it is being divided. So this is the basic histology of the salivary glands. Now among these, the intercalated duct cells and the excretory duct cells are the ones which are acting as progenitors for the various salivary gland tumors. They are acting as the causative cells for various. They are the ones which give rise to, they behave abnormally and they give rise to various salivary gland tumors. Clear? Now, and they are not all the tumors are contributed by them, a few are contributed by them, okay. Now myoepithelial cells contribute to pleomorphic adenoma. As I told you in first lecture, myoepithelial cells contribute to pleomorphic adenoma, and the serous and the mucous acini contribute to acinic cell carcinomas, okay. So that is how it is being acting as progenitor, okay. And the commonly affected gland is mainly the parotid gland, followed by minor salivary glands, that is submandibular glands, and also the sublingual glands. Clear? And most of the times the minor salivary gland tumors are mainly seen in females compared to males. So here the MCQ part is, you have to just note down which are the progenitor cells. The progenitor cells are intercalated duct cells and the excretory duct cells. Moving on to the classification. The classification of salivary gland tumors are divided into benign epithelial tumors, malignant epithelial tumors, and then non-epithelial tumors. Okay, that is connective tissue tumors are put together under a single category, okay, which includes soft tissue tumors, hematolymphoid tumors, and secondary tumors. So in this particular lecture, we will be concentrating only on MCQ important points, okay. MCQ important points only we will be concentrating on, and those lectures, those points you note down. Now, which are the benign epithelial tumors? The benign epithelial tumors include pleomorphic adenoma, okay, the Warthin's tumor, myoepitheliomas, basal cell adenoma, oncocytoma, canalicular adenomas, papillomas, and cyst adenomas. So just remember MCQ viewpoint, okay. The most common salivary gland tumors is pleomorphic adenoma. If you take benign as well as salivary, the malignant salivary glands together, if all the salivary glands, if you put together and if you make one ranking order, the most common salivary gland tumor is pleomorphic adenoma. The second rank goes to Warthin's tumor. So remember that point. In MCQ they'll ask you which is the most common salivary gland tumor. The answer is pleomorphic adenoma. Okay, so if they have not specified benign or malignant, if they just mention which is the most common salivary gland tumor, it is pleomorphic adenoma, and the second most common is Warthin's tumor. So remember these two important points. Now coming on to malignant epithelial tumors. If you put a classification of malignant epithelial tumors, if you put a ranking order, okay, which is the most common, if the question is like which is the most common malignant salivary gland tumor, then the answer is mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Among malignant salivary gland tumors, the most common type is mucoepidermoid carcinoma. The second one is adenocarcinoma. Third one is acinic cell carcinoma. Fourth one is PLGA. PLGA means polymorphous low-grade adenocarcinoma, PLGA short form. Then last one is adenoid cystic carcinoma, fifth one. Okay, so just remember these important points. And coming on to the third category, that is non-epithelial tumors. If you take non-epithelial tumors are what? Soft tissue tumors, hematolymphoid tumors and secondary tumors. If you take all these tumors together, the most common type of tumor is non-Hodgkin's type of lymphomas. Okay, the most common type of non-epithelial tumor in salivary gland is non-Hodgkin's type of lymphomas. Okay, so this is how you should learn. You should not know all the classification and all the particular diseases which come under them, but just MCQ viewpoint, just note down all these points. Okay, which is the most common salivary gland tumor is pleomorphic adenoma. If you being asked which is the most common malignant salivary gland tumor, the answer is mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Okay, and the second most common salivary gland tumor is Warthin's tumor. So all these things you just note down. Now let's learn in detail about benign epithelial tumors. So first one is pleomorphic adenoma. So what are the other terms of pleomorphic adenoma? It is mixed tumor, enclavoma, branchioma, endothelioma and enchondroma. So these are the different terms of pleomorphic adenoma. So which are the various terms? Mixed tumor, enclavoma, branchioma, endothelioma and enchondroma. So these are the other terms of pleomorphic adenoma. So they can give you any head title as option. Okay, instead of giving pleomorphic adenoma directly, they can give you as enclavoma. Okay, they can even given as branchioma. They can also given as a mixed tumor. Okay, understood. So mixed pleomorphic adenoma is called as a mixed tumor because it contains both the epithelial as well as the connective tissue components in them. Okay, now just note down the first picture. Now concentrate on the first picture. That small girl is confused over there. Can you see two question marks, isn't it? The girl is thinking whether the pleomorphic adenoma, why it is called as a mixed tumor. It is because it contains both epithelial as well as mesenchymal. Mesenchymal means connective tissue component. Okay, which are the connective tissue components? They are the cartilage, the bone, okay, blood capillaries, nerves, all these are the connective tissue components. Understood? So if the tumor contains both the epithelium and the connective tissue components, then it is called as a mixed tumor. Though it is a benign tumor, it is a mixed tumor. Understood? So epithelial components are the tubules. Okay, so in the diagram I have given the tubules which are given in that picture are the epithelial component, and the stroma, okay, the stroma which contains chondroid part, chondromyxoid part, that comes under the mesenchymal component. Okay, that is why the pleomorphic adenoma is called as a mixed tumor. Now which is the causative factor for pleomorphic adenoma? As I told you in the first lecture of salivary glands, myoepithelial cell, that is a basket cells, are the ones which are mostly acting as culprit, okay, for the cause of pleomorphic adenoma. So they are the ones which are giving rise to pleomorphic adenoma. They are the ones which give rise to different forms of tubules. They are the ones which give rise to different forms of mesenchymal components. Okay, so they are the culprits. Along with them, a few ductal cells also remain. Okay, so histogenesis I have given in red ink in the notes part. Histogenesis, which are the two cells which are reason for pleomorphic adenoma? Mainly the myoepithelial cells and the ductal cells. Understood? Okay, so myoepithelial cell is responsible for morphological diversity of the tumor, including the production of fibrous part, mucinous part, chondroid and osseous areas. Clear? Now look into this histology picture. Your explanation till now, whatever I told you, will be very clear from this picture. Okay, so this is the classical histology picture of which tumor? Pleomorphic adenoma. Okay, how can you make out? See, the first label is showing you chondroid areas. That blue areas are chondroid areas. Okay, that is the cartilage formation. So as I told you, pleomorphic adenoma contains both the epithelial components and the connective tissue components. Connective tissue component is the chondroid area. Understood? Then second label is giving you what? Connective tissue capsule. So can you see that capsule throughout the lesion? No, isn't it? Only in that particular region you can see. So pleomorphic adenoma is a partially encapsulated tumor. It's a partially encapsulated. You cannot see the capsule throughout the tumor. You can see only in some region. So it is a partially encapsulated tumor. Understood? Now, the third label, ductal and myoepithelial cells are proliferating as sheets and strands. So these are the epithelial components. Ductal and the myoepithelial cells are shown in that picture. Now next one shows you tubular structures, okay, and then myxoid areas also you can see, that is connective tissue component, and osseous areas also visible, that is also connective tissue component. So now clear? So why it is called as a myxoid tumor? Because it contains both epithelial as well as the connective tissue components, and it is a partially encapsulated tumor. Now, if we look into the location of salivary gland tumor, pleomorphic adenoma, the most common location is in the parotid gland. Okay, so among the salivary glands, if you take parotid glands, submandibular glands, and the sublingual gland, major salivary glands, the most common site for pleomorphic adenoma is often the parotid gland. Parotid gland is the most common salivary gland location, okay, pleomorphic adenoma location, and within the parotid gland, which is the portion, okay, the lower pole of superficial lobe of the gland. So the parotid gland is divided into, that first picture if you see, the parotid gland is divided into a superficial lobe and deep lobe. Can you make out? Okay, in that picture, a superficial lobe is also given, a deep lobe is also given. And who divides the parotid gland into this particular lobes, superficial lobe and deep lobe? It is the facial nerve. Can you make out? The facial nerve is passing through the parotid gland and it divides the parotid gland into superficial lobe and the deep lobe. So this will be useful in anatomy also. Okay, so the superficial lobe, within the superficial lobe, the lowermost region, okay, the lower pole. The lower pole is the most common site for pleomorphic adenoma. Clear? Within the parotid gland, superficial lobe, and within the superficial lobe, the lower pole of the superficial lobe is the most common site for pleomorphic adenoma. Okay, and intraorally, if you take within the oral cavity, palate is the most common site for minor salivary gland involvement. If you take major salivary glands, the most common site is the parotid gland, and if you take minor salivary glands, the most common site is the palate. Okay, so palate. So what is the significance of palatal pleomorphic adenoma? Palatal pleomorphic adenoma will always be fixed to the underlying bone. It will be always fixed to the underlying bone. So it will not be easily palpable. Okay, whereas extraoral, that is the pleomorphic adenoma which is occurring in the parotid gland, will be easily palpable because it is not fixed to the underlying tissues. Okay, and it is a benign tumor. But in case of palate, it will be fixed to the underlying bone, so it will not be palpable at all. Okay, and pleomorphic adenoma, the last important point, it is mostly seen in females compared to males, and the ratio is around 6:4. So these are the important MCQs related to pleomorphic adenoma. Okay. Finally, in pleomorphic adenoma, we should also learn a small classification. Okay, classification by Foot and Fresel in 1954. Foot and Fresel in 1954 has classified the pleomorphic adenoma into 4 types based upon the content within the pleomorphic adenoma. Okay, if it is purely the material within the pleomorphic adenoma is connective tissue, then it is called as principally myxoid. Okay, if there is excessive accumulation of mucoid material around individual myoepithelial cell, it gives a myxoid appearance. Secondly, if it contains both, that is myxoid as well as the cellular component, then it is called as myxoid and cellular component, that is mixed type. The third one is predominantly cellular. Okay, if the myxoid part is very less and if the cellular portion is more, then it is classified as predominantly cellular. And the fourth category, if the myxoid part is very negligible, okay, and the cellular part is extremely high, then it is extremely cellular variety. Okay, so they can even ask you the classification, which type belongs to the type 1, type 2, type 3. So they can give you just match the following, or they can even ask you which type. Okay, so to just confuse you, okay, to make the paper a little more tougher. Okay, so just note down, Foot and Fresel classification in 1954 has classified into principally myxoid and cellular variety, predominantly cellular and extremely cellular. Okay, and if you take pleomorphic adenoma, the treatment part, radiotherapy is contraindicated in pleomorphic adenoma. It is a benign tumor and you needn't go for radiotherapy. Okay, only surgical excision with the capsule is done in case of the treatment of pleomorphic adenoma. Okay, radiotherapy is contraindicated. Understood? Radiotherapy is contraindicated, only surgical excision with capsules, with the entire capsules removed. Coming on to next benign tumor of salivary gland, that is basal cell adenoma. So if you clearly understood pleomorphic adenoma, then it is very easy to identify the next two. Okay, basal cell adenoma and myoepithelioma. Basal cell adenoma is actually, if you remove the stromal part of pleomorphic adenoma, then it is basal cell adenoma. Only the solid variant, okay, is present. The stroma is not present. Okay, so pleomorphic adenoma without stroma is actually basal cell adenoma. Okay, and the common type around this basal cell adenoma is the solid variant. It is not so frequently asked question, so just note down. Okay, now the third type of tumor we are learning is myoepithelioma. As I told you, myoepithelial cells are the causative factor for myoepithelioma, and pleomorphic adenoma without stroma and the ductal portion is myoepithelioma. Okay, so that means basal cell adenoma without ductal component. So only the cells will be present predominantly in case of myoepithelioma. Clear? In case of pleomorphic adenoma, it was both the cellular and the connective tissue components were present within them. Okay, because of that you can see chondroid areas, osseous areas, myxoid areas. Okay, but when you come to basal cell adenoma, the stromal part is removed. When you come to myoepithelioma, even the ductal part is also removed. Understood? So that is how that reclassification comes. Now moving on to another important MCQ in salivary gland tumor, which is commonly asked as Wharton's tumor. Okay, Wharton's tumor, the other terms you should be very familiar: papillary cyst adenoma lymphomatosum, or otherwise it is also called as adenolymphoma. Okay, and this is the salivary gland tumor which exclusively comes only in parotid gland. Okay, so that is why it is commonly asked in MCQs. The only salivary gland tumor which comes exclusively in parotid gland, it doesn't come anywhere else. Okay, it comes only in the parotid gland. So is Wharton's tumor. Okay, now look into that picture. From that picture you can recollect so many important points. Wharton's tumor was first described by the pathologist Dr. Wharton. Because of that, the term is given as Wharton's tumor. It's a benign salivary gland tumor. It comes exclusively in the parotid gland. That is why it is given as parotid gland in that picture. Now can you make out a W, okay, with small cigarettes in them? Okay, so the W refers to Wharton's tumor. And why cigarettes have been given in that Wharton's tumor? Why? Because smoking habit is linked to Wharton's tumor. Okay, there is a strong association. Scientists have found out a strong association between the Wharton's tumor and smoking habit. Along with that, the W also stands for V. Okay, so remember the tumor is also seen association with Epstein-Barr virus. Okay, so two important points you should remember from the W. One is the tumor, Wharton's tumor is commonly seen associated with smoking habit, and secondly it is also seen associated with the Epstein-Barr virus. Okay, traditionally it was considered to be a disease of men because only men had the smoking habit. Nowadays females also smoke, so even the disease has been seen in females also nowadays. Clear? Now, so why it happens only in parotid gland? Okay, that reason is very important. And why the term papillary cyst adenoma lymphomatosum? This is because that second picture is showing you the parotid gland. Okay, that blue color is parotid gland. And within the parotid gland, can you see the lymph nodes? Two lymph nodes are shown there. Okay, so that is green color. Okay, so those two lymph nodes, the tumor is arising in the lymph nodes of the parotid gland. It is not happening within the salivary gland as such. Within the salivary gland you have the lymph nodes, and the tumor is within the lymph nodes of the salivary gland. Understood? So because of that, if you cut open a Wharton's tumor, what you can see? You can see lymphocytes, mainly the lymphocytes. Understood? And clear? So Wharton's tumor is happening in salivary gland only because it is associated with the lymph nodes of the parotid gland. Now let's learn the histology part of Wharton's tumor. As I told you, it is connected with the lymph nodes of parotid gland, isn't it? So this is the lymph node. Okay, so this is the lymph node, and within the lymph node what you can see, there is papillary cystic regions. Okay, papillary cystic region. So double layered papillary projections can you make out in that picture? Double layered. There are two layers of cells over there. So papillary projections are into the cystic spaces. That is why that blank white space. Okay, in that first picture, the blank white space is actually the cystic spaces, and adjacent to it there are two papillary projections into the cystic spaces, and just adjacent to it what you can see, lymphocytes. Okay, clear? So that is how in that high power you will be able to make out more double row of oncocytes with edges and lymphoid stroma. Okay, so that purple color is small is lymphocytes, and the arrow mark is pointing towards the papillary projections, okay, into the cystic spaces. Now, Wharton's tumor is the only tumor which is getting transformed into mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So the most of the times Wharton's tumor can transform into which tumor? Into mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So Wharton's tumor is a benign tumor. It can get transformed into malignant variety of salivary gland, which is that mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Clear? So that also they can ask you. Okay, in MCQ, which is the transformation is happening to which salivary gland tumor? It is transforming into mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Understood? So the other term of Wharton's tumor is exactly coinciding with the histology part. Okay, you can see the papillary projections, you can see the cystic spaces, and you can see the lymphoid area. So that is why Wharton's tumor is also called as papillary cyst adenoma lymphomatosum. Okay, clear? Or adenolymphoma. Now coming on to oncocytoma. Oncocytoma, just remember oncocytoma, or otherwise known as oncocytic adenoma or oxyphilic adenoma. So what are oncocytoma? Oncocytoma is actually a rare benign tumor which is composed of oncocytes. So what are oncocytes? They are actually larger, okay, granular eosinophilic cells with cytoplasm and a large number of atypical mitochondria within them. So they contain a numerous number of mitochondria. So as you all know, normally a cell will contain mitochondria, rough endoplasmic reticulum, okay, nucleus. So all these are the normal parts of a cell. But in case of oncocytes, the number of mitochondria within them is very high. Okay. That is a characteristic feature of oncocytes. So because of that reason, if you take if you do H&E section, okay, hematoxin and eosin stain, if you do, that entire cell will appear pink in color, eosin in color. Okay, understood? So that is the reason, because it contains numerous mitochondria within them. Mitochondria, understood? And that is why they are called as oncocytes. And oncocytes are predominantly seen in oncocytoma, and this particular lesion is connected with older people. Okay, remember, it is predominantly seen in the ductal linings of glands in older people, especially women. Okay, so just remember, oncocytoma is mostly seen in older persons. Okay, so remember that MCQ. Oncocytoma contain oncocytes. Oncocytes mean what? The cells with a large number of mitochondria, and oncocytoma is clearly seen in older persons. Coming on to canalicular adenoma. Canalicular adenoma, just remember, it is the benign salivary gland tumor which is commonly seen in the upper lip. Okay, that is an important MCQ. They ask you the common site of canalicular adenoma is mainly in the upper lip. And in canalicular adenoma, what you can see is small canals. Can you make out? Columnar epithelial cells are arranged in a single or double layer, forming small branching cords. Okay, so it is similar to small canals. So, and the common site for canalicular adenoma is upper lip. Okay, and it is often mistaken with adenoid cystic carcinoma. It is a salivary gland tumor, malignant adenoid cystic carcinoma. So this canalicular adenoma, it's a benign tumor. It is often mistaken with adenoid cystic carcinoma. And but what is the difference between these two is that adenoid cystic carcinoma is not seen usually in the upper lip. Okay, and it is not freely movable also. But canalicular adenoma is a freely movable tumor because it's a benign tumor. Okay, now there is one mnemonic to remember this. You can remember this way. It's canalicular adenoma, CA, not adenoid cystic carcinoma, ACC cement, in the upper floor of the building. Okay, you can remember that way also. Now I hope you all know about ACC cement, isn't it? So with that you can make this mnemonic. So it's canalicular adenoma, not adenoid cystic carcinoma, which is present in the upper floor of the building, means upper lip. Okay, so that is how I remember. Understood? Clear? Now coming on to papillomas. Papillomas are the minor salivary glands and lower lip. Okay, papillomas are seen in minor salivary glands and lower lip. Papillomas are of 3 different types: inverted ductal papillomas, intraductal papillomas, and sialadenoma papilliferum. But just remember, MCQ viewpoint, only this point is important. Papillomas are mostly seen in the minor salivary glands and lower lip. Okay, if you take any of the papillomas, all of them are mostly seen in the connected with minor salivary glands and lower lip. They are rarely seen associated with the major salivary glands. So coming on to malignant salivary gland tumors. So first one, mucoepidermoid carcinoma, MEC. Okay, only I am discussing the important MCQs here. So mucoepidermoid carcinoma, as I told you, it is composed of both. Okay, mucus secreting cells also will be there, epidermoid cells also will be there, because of the term mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Okay, and it is the in the you remember that classification I had given the ranking order in the malignant salivary gland tumors. I had told you the first rank goes to, in among the malignant salivary glands, the first rank goes to mucoepidermoid carcinoma. It is the most common malignant neoplasm of the salivary glands, and the commonest site, just like Watten's tumor exclusively in parotid gland, and in case of mucoepidermoid carcinoma, it is the common site is also parotid gland only. Okay, and it is the most common malignant salivary gland tumor in children. Okay, now look into the second picture. I have shown small two babies, isn't it? So just remember that way, mucoepidermoid carcinoma is seen in children. Okay, the most common salivary gland tumor in children is mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Among the salivary gland tumors, the most common malignant salivary gland tumor seen in children is mucoepidermoid carcinoma. That is a very, very important MCQ. Okay, so and what is the reason for it? Because might be due to some kind of radiation exposure, okay, which is increasing the risk of developing mucoepidermoid carcinoma in children. Okay, so remember this way, this is about mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Now, if you learn about the location of mucoepidermoid carcinoma, the most common site is palate. Palate is the most common site for the mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Okay, palate. Intraorally, there is a strong predilection for palate. Okay, so remember the location. Now, mucoepidermoid carcinoma, based upon their malignancy, they are divided into two types: low grade type of malignancy and high grade. The low grade ones are slowly enlarging and they are usually painless. Okay, and almost they show features similar to that of pleomorphic adenoma. But a high grade type of mucoepidermoid carcinoma will grow rapidly. Okay, very rapid growth, and they produce pain as an early symptom, and there will be involvement of the facial nerve, and because of that there will be facial nerve paralysis is frequent in parotid tumor. Okay, parotid tumor, that means mucoepidermoid carcinoma in parotid tumor. Understood? Clear? So that is a difference between a low grade and a high grade. Important point only I am discussing here. High grade means there will be facial nerve paralysis. Note down that point. Now looking into the histology part, the mucoepidermoid carcinoma consists of three types of cells. Okay, the mucous cells also, intermediate cells also, and the epidermoid cells also. Okay, so based upon that, they are being again divided into low grade, intermediate grade, and high grade. So it is the presence of the intermediate cells which tells you whether it is mucoepidermoid carcinoma or not, because in pleomorphic adenoma also you can see mucous cells and epidermoid cells, but only in mucoepidermoid carcinoma you can see intermediate cells. Okay, intermediate cells you cannot find in pleomorphic adenoma. Okay, so based upon this presence of intermediate cells, we can divide them into three, as I told you. So low grade will contain mainly of mucous cells. Intermediate grade in the second column, in the tabular column. Okay, second one tells you only the intermediate cells will be predominating. Okay, when you come to high grade, there will be cords of intermediate, basaloid, and the epidermoid cells. Okay, clear? So this is the tumor with that of the high grade often shows necrosis and perineural invasion. Okay. Now there are two variants of mucoepidermoid carcinoma which are used, which are sometimes means asked in MCQ. One is sclerosing type of mucoepidermoid carcinoma and one is intraosseous variety. Okay, the sclerosing type of mucoepidermoid carcinoma shows intense sclerosis. Okay, there will be intense sclerosis or fibrosis, whereas intraosseous variety will be seen within the bone. As I told you, mucoepidermoid carcinoma is mostly seen in the parotid gland, but they can also be seen in the bone. That is intraosseous variety of mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So they are seen within the bone, and this tumor type is known as central mucoepidermoid carcinoma. Okay, mucoepidermoid carcinoma variety which is seen within the bone can also be called as central mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So note that point. Now coming on to acinic cell carcinoma. Acinic cell carcinoma, or can also be called as acinar cell. Okay, acinic cell carcinoma, why it is important for MCQ is because it contains mainly what? Acinar cells. Okay, acinar express acinar cell differentiation, and the cytoplasmic PAS positive zymogen type secretory granules can be seen. Okay, if you take the characteristic feature is presence of cytoplasmic PAS positive. Okay, PAS means periodic acid shift. Okay, if you do periodic acid shift staining, what you can see in this particular tumor? Zymogen type secretory granules which are positive. Okay, in case of actinic cell carcinoma, because they are originating from the acini. That is why, because of that, you can see the presence of zymogen type of granules. Understood? Now, they chiefly seen in parotid gland as it is shown in the clinical picture, and women are mostly affected than men. So that is about actinic cell carcinoma. What you can see pars positive zymogen type secretory granules. Now, there are 4 types of this variety. One is solid variety, papillary cystic variety, follicular type, and microcystic variety of actinic cell carcinoma. Okay. Now, in that picture which is adjacent to that, the first one, the acini. Okay, as I told you the summary, the acini. From the acini, you get the actinic cell carcinoma. From the intercalated portion of the duct, what you get as the ACC, okay, adenoid cystic carcinoma and the secretory carcinoma. Then the striated duct, which doesn't contribute to much of the tumors. Then the excretory duct, where you have the mucoepidermoid carcinoma, salivary duct carcinoma, and adenocarcinoma, okay, and then finally the oral cavity, okay. So here the intercalated duct-like cells, which seem to be unique to acini cell carcinomas, are seen in mainly intercalated duct cells are mainly seen in actinic cell carcinoma. Understood? Now, coming on to adenoid cystic carcinoma. Adenoid cystic carcinoma, why it is important? Because adenoid cystic carcinoma can also be called as cylindroma. Okay, the terms you note down. Adenoid cystic carcinoma is also called as cylindroma or basaloid mixed tumor. Okay, and why it is because important for MCQ? Because this is the salivary gland tumor which is showing perineural invasion. Okay, mostly if you being asked, the tumor with a characteristic neural invasion is seen in case of adenoid cystic carcinoma. So that is a picture of the nerve. The arrow mark is pointing towards the nerve bundle, and you can see the tumor cells are surrounding them. Okay, the tumor cells are surrounding them, and in the center you can see the nerve bundle. Understood? So the invasion of perineural space and peripheral nerve is a characteristic feature of this particular tumor. Adenoid cystic carcinoma is the tumor which shows characteristic perineural invasion. Understood? So that point is always asked in MCQ, that salivary gland tumor with perineural invasion is mainly adenoid cystic carcinoma. The other terms also you should remember, cylindroma and basaloid mixed tumor. Now, if you see the histology of adenoid cystic carcinoma, you can see small cribriform patterns. Okay, cribriform patterns or Swiss cheese pattern. So what is this cribriform pattern? That is what is shown in that picture. Okay, so can you make out the Swiss cheese on the top? And similar to that particular figure only, the down histology picture. Okay, there is a resemblance. It is similar to a Swiss cheese, or it is similar to a honeycomb pattern. Okay, the cribriform pattern of the adenoid cystic carcinoma is similar to Swiss cheese. Okay, so Swiss cheese pattern histologically or honeycomb pattern is seen in adenoid cystic carcinoma. Okay, there are 2 other varieties also, that is tubular pattern and solid pattern. But for MCQ, just remember this important point: adenoid cystic carcinoma shows cribriform pattern, okay, or a Swiss cheese or honeycomb pattern. So this is the pattern. Now, coming on to the last variety of malignant salivary gland tumor we are learning, that is polymorphous low-grade adenocarcinoma, okay, or PLG. This is very important because the location is limited to minor salivary glands, especially in the palate. Okay, so the picture I have shown is the lesion in the palate. So remember the point, the polymorphous low-grade adenocarcinoma, or they can simply give us PLGA in options. Okay, it is limited to minor salivary glands only. Most of the times the affected location is hard palate. Okay, and if you see under the microscope, what you can see is characteristically we can see bland and uniform nuclear features. Okay, and PLGA also shows perineural infiltration. Okay, and along just like adenoid cystic carcinoma, PLGA also shows perineural invasion, but the difference is that the adenoid cystic carcinoma is very rarely seen in minor salivary glands, especially in the region of palate. PLGA is mostly seen in the palatal location. Okay, so involving the mucosa of hard palate and the soft palate. Okay, mostly they are seen in the junction. Cheek also it is visible, or sometimes in the upper lip area. So most of the times the location is the junction between the hard palate and soft palate, mainly in the hard palate area. Okay, clear? So PLGA, remember the point, it is also called as terminal duct adenocarcinoma, and it is the most common malignant salivary gland tumor which is associated with minor salivary glands, especially it is seen in females, and it is limited to mainly palatal region, and it is often confused with adenoid cyst carcinoma because of the perineural infiltration feature. Okay, Now coming on to the end of this particular lecture about malignant mixed tumor, let me explain to you. There are three malignant mixed tumors. Okay, one is carcinoma x pleomorphic adenoma, and which is the most common among all the three. Second one is carcinosarcoma, and last one being metastasizing mixed tumor. Okay, so it is not that important MCQ point wise, but just remember these are the three malignant mixed tumors seen. Okay, mixed means it will contain both the epithelial as well as the connective tissue components, so that is why it is called as mixed. Okay, and it is malignant variety, and among them the most common is carcinoma x pleomorphic adenoma, which means initially the patient must be having a benign lesion salivary gland tumor pleomorphic adenoma, but later on this benign lesion is getting converted to a malignant carcinoma. Okay, so that is what is happening here. So there is occurrence of both pleomorphic adenoma, the benign version, as well as the carcinoma along with it. Okay, so it becomes a mixed tumor. Clear? Now with this we come to the end of the chapter, the part 2 of this particular chapter. Okay, in part 2 what we learned? Okay, in part 2 we learned about the benign salivary gland tumors and malignant salivary gland tumors. Okay, so repeatedly watch the lecture, only then you will be able to recollect. Okay, clear? Relate and study with the pictures and note down only the important points and then try to recollect them. Okay, thank you.